Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams. This evening, we warmly welcome the family of Private Wilfred Joseph Moss, whose story will be told shortly by Flight Lieutenant Aaron Turrell from the Royal Australian Air Force, who is a member of Private Moss's family. We also warmly welcome family members watching this ceremony via the live stream broadcast. This evening we are honoured to acknowledge Lieutenant General Datuk Mohd Shahada bin Ismail, Air Operations Commander, Royal Malaysian Air Force, accompanied by Air Vice Marshal Glenn Braz, Air Commander, Royal Australian Air Force, and their accompanying delegation. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching of the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of Holy Spirit Primary School from Lavington, New South Wales, and St Bernadette School from St Mary's, South Australia. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students and those requiring a seat, you may now please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Wilfred Joseph Moss. Wilfred Moss was born on the 28th of February 1895 in Salisbury, South Australia. Known as Wilf, he was one of 4 children born to fruit grower Edwin Moss and his wife Charlotte. Wilf attended the local public school and was an active participant in community life. He was a member of the tennis and gymnastics clubs, the local church choir, and the Salisbury Rifle Club. When the First World War broke out in 1914, Wilf was working at his father's orchard. Wilf Moss enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 18th of April 1916. He was assigned to reinforcements of the 10th Battalion and began a short period of training. He embarked for active service soon after, sailing from Adelaide on the troop ship Ballarat in August 1916. Private Moss arrived in Plymouth, England at the end of September and proceeded to camp for further training. He began his journey to the Western Front in October, but contracted influenza soon after arriving. He remained in a French hospital until November, when he joined the 10th Battalion in the trenches. Moss was attached to the Lewis gun section and settled into a period of routine duty in the trenches and training exercises behind the lines as a bitterly cold winter began to set in. Moss and his comrades saw out the rest of the year in freezing conditions, spending Christmas and New Year's at the front. In early 1917, enemy forces began abandoning their forward trenches to make a strategic withdrawal to the Hindenburg Line. Doing so would allow them to straighten out their front line and gave them the advantage of highly fortified trenches and defences. Allied forces eagerly followed this retreat, seizing their opportunity to push the enemy back. In advancing on the Germans, however, those units were confronted by well-prepared rearguard defences and booby-trapped towns, resulting in a series of bloody clashes. By April, the 10th Battalion had advanced to the front lines around the village of Louverval. On the 8th of April 1917, it attacked German positions and managed to advance their line by almost a kilometre. B Company, of which Moss was part, encountered heavy resistance during the attacks. On leaving the trenches, the men were pinned down by heavy machine gun fire, which killed almost all of their senior officers. Moss and his comrades were forced to take shelter in a shell hole, unable to move for fear of being hit. One of Moss's friends, Private Dolan, was wounded. Moss lay down beside him to offer assistance, but was spotted by the enemy who fired at him, killing him instantly. Dolan survived, but Moss's body could not be recovered. As a result, his fate remained unknown for several months. Initially listed as missing, with fears that he had been taken prisoner of war, it was not until Dolan was invalided home to Australia in 1917 that Moss's fate was confirmed. News of Moss's death was received by his family and community with great sadness. His family paid tribute to him in a notice placed in the Adelaide Express and Telegraph newspaper, "So dearly loved." Wilf Moss was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Wilfred Joseph Moss, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
For those who are able, I now invite you to please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.